I will call, you ready, Derek? Rod, you ready? We're on. I will call the August 25th, Richland County Executive Finance Meeting order. Roll call, Mr. Cayley.
Carol. Here. Schoonover. Here. Annie.
Here.
Kirk.
Here.
Frank. Williamson.
Here. Bob's online.
Okay, thanks. Williamson.
Here.
Cooey. Yep. All right, yep.
All right, thank you. We're compliant with the open meeting law. Our agenda was properly posted. Right time. Thank you. We have a 17-point agenda looking for approval of the agenda. Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Schoonover. Any discussion? Otherwise, we'll take it in order. All those in favor of approving the agenda that is presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, minutes from the August 12th meeting. Approval of the minutes from the August 12th. Everybody peek at them. If there's no corrections, changes, or additions, I'll state them as approved as presented in our packet. Public comment. I did not receive anybody's forms, anybody in the audience, anybody online for public comment. Hearing none, we'll move on to reports. 7A, administrators report.
I just gave one last week.
All right,
Same with the radio tower.
radio tower, no changes from last week. Now we're moving on to Karen, Veteran Service Office quarterly report.
Hi, the files have been put into the packet. You had a chance to review them. If you have any questions about any of the numbers. Normally in the month of August is when I give the annual GDX report, and that stands for Geographical Distribution of VA Expenses. They have decided to change the format, so hopefully they're promising that it's going to be ready. So the 2024 numbers will be ready by 2026. So I don't have anything. The most current that I have in 2022, we helped to bring in $14 million to the county through veterans, through different monies and services. And at the end of 2023, it was 15.5. And then I'd just like to reiterate again, we will be set up at the county fair this year, and I'd like to see you all stop by.
Thank you. Anyone with questions for Karen in regard to Veterans Affairs? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Pine Valley, Brittany, water reservoir update.
Yeah, so you guys, unfortunately wasn't able to get the packet in, got the report today. So the only thing that's unsatisfactory based off of the report you'll find on the second to the last is going to be the concrete this fall and exposed rebar. So basically what that means is we just have to have small repairs done to it. The cost of it's going to be $4,700. They are sending over the DNR approval, and that should be fixed hopefully soon. So we do not have anything major going on with the water reservoir. Everything seems to be working condition.
How long do they expect to take for the repair?
So he's going to, Sam is who I spoke to at water storage. He said he was going to submit the plan approval to DNR. Once they approve it, then they'll go ahead and get it scheduled onto our books. So essentially the cost is only $4,700 instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And they take care of the
They're doing
water?
the application, they're taking care of everything. Yep.
Anybody with questions for Brittany in regards to the Pine Valley Water Reservoir? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to item 8, discussion and possible action on the 2026 preliminary budget.
So we do have in your packet the preliminary budget summary report. We can start with the 2026 preliminary budget highlights on the first slide there. Things that we want to highlight with you is there is the advancement of 1 step on the wage scale for all full-time employees. We have the addition of a radio tower technician and the radio tower operations funding. Our $8.1 million radio tower project will be done this year. We do want to make sure that we are maintaining our investment and that we are not doing deferred maintenance. And so we have built in a money for the fund and then also a technician to be able to go to the different sites, maintain everything, ensure that everything is running as it should. We are doing some restructuring of the administration, Simon's, emergency services, and HHS staff. The only additional job that is being created is in emergency services. We have a contracted employee that we are looking to make a county employee. So that is the only additional number onto the staff authorization table that we are adding. And then we are really focusing on maintaining, enhancing cybersecurity. All the expenses for our infrastructure is going to be included in the budget. We are not using any ARPA anymore. As you will recall, we had some connectivity and issues with the breach about 1.5 years ago. There were additional safeguards that were put in place. We do need to continue to maintain those, so we have a secure system in place. And I do want to make note that Iowa County still continues to be unable to make real estate transfers as a result of the breach that they had. So it is really important that we are supporting our system. The next page is our revenue type summary. These are the same as they have been every year. Are there any questions on these, or do you want me to give a brief overview of these?
Actually, I had a question on the highlights.
Sure.
You said it was going to be one position added. Wait, what?
They have a clerical assistant in there, in that unit, an administrative assistant who really helps with processing the bills, making sure everything gets sent in for appropriate billing, invoices, all of those things is responsibility. Tracking numbers, tracking data.
So radio tower technician is,
Oh, that is another one. Sorry, 2 additional ones.
okay.
Forgot about that. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
David,
The MIS department is how we have it structured.
yes.
We go on to the next slide then, the preliminary budget revenues. We have our sales tax that did increase a little bit from the previous year. Intergovernmental, which is our state aids, that did go down a little bit from this year. And then we have our court fees, our public charges for services, the other general revenue. The 2 big ones that I really want to note there is number 1, Pine Valley surplus of $750,000 will be applied to the budget here. And then we did have to build in $306,026.27 of general fund. So those are included in that other revenue, general revenue line. Then we have our commercial revenue, which a lot of that is the interest on investments. Our highway had a significant bump from previous years, and I want to make note that that is due to the county bowl project. So we will be getting state and federal aid for that. It will come in next year. So our expenses went up in the highway budget, and the revenues also went up because of that. And we have our tax levy built in. Any questions on that one?
Did they run into problems out there with non-compaction, I heard? County owned?
Don't know.
Don't know that.
No, that would be a Josh question. I can have him connect with you if you'd like.
County owned.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So how does the tax levy number compare to the previous year? Is it,
Flat, is it slightly lower, slightly higher?
So last year, our gross levy was 10,341,005.79. There's another slide we'll get to this, Dave.
Oh, okay.
So what,
Okay.
there's about a $500,000 difference.
Okay.
That's on our gross levy, so.
okay,
We'll get there. Oh, good question.
gotcha, yes. The top line where it says taxes, that's sales tax,
Yes.
Yes.
gotcha.
So then on our next one, it really is just another breakdown of kind of really looking at where the revenue is in a different format for you. Then we go on to our expenses, and this is the expense type summary. Any questions in regards to these? These do remain pretty consistent year after year. And then our next slide is our preliminary budgeted expenses for 2026. Our debt service did go up, and that was because we will start making our debt payments on the radio tower. Just some highlights on the capital projects. Those are really our video conferencing, the radio tower, 911 outlay. Those are a lot of those expenses there. Any questions in regards to this?
Been noting the highway total is bigger than last year, but
Yes.
percent those revenues and expenditures because of that project. So those totals will drop significantly for 2027. So when you look at a summary, you're going to see a large increase between the two, but it's really just because of that project. So
And we have to remember, it's over a $7 million project.
it was alarming to see it at first, and then that's why.
So if we go on to the next slide, this is really just our expenses broken down in a different format for you to see. And a reminder, the Health and Social Services encompasses Pine Valley. That is not just Health and Human Services, that does encompass Pine Valley, veterans, and child support. And then here is our debt service summary. And so our total will be 3.8 million in debt service that we will have this year with that short-term borrowing built in. And then we have our top 5 departments by levy: Sheriff's Department, then debt service, highway, institutional costs, and then Health and Human Services. And then our last slide is our preliminary gross levy, broke down by departments with the 2025 numbers, the 2026 numbers, and then we have it laid out what has increased and what has decreased. Under, just a couple things to note, under capital planning, last year we were able to put money into capital planning and set it aside. This year we were unable to, and so that's where you'll see that large negative amount. The county tech fund went up also, and the main part of that is really we no longer have ARPA funds. We have increased security and support for our system, just to protect it, to ensure that we have a system that we can utilize on a daily basis. Any questions on this?
Carol?
I know this is just early on, but at some point, I assume we'll be able to look at a deeper level at the budget and maybe even with some year-on-year trending stuff as well. That's something we can do with the new system.
So when you say look at a deeper level, like look at individual departments' budget, like this is how much each department budgeted in, or what are you looking for?
Well, I don't want to ask for something that's difficult, but just for example, you do have a breakdown on debt service, but some of the other things, if we can.
What do you think, Steve, like department related, like, or general for Cole County? I kind of know where you're going, but I mean.
Well, I'm not, again, something that helps us see how each of those numbers was built up, however you do it. And I'm not asking for, a stack this big, but something with a little more sort of detail. And again, I don't know what the new system's capabilities are.
So the new system will likely be able to produce those reports for you. I will be totally honest that it was rather difficult to do it on the old way and in the new system to make sure the numbers matched and make sure everything carried over. But what I can bring to the September meeting, or the first meeting in September, is I can give you the 3 worksheets that we historically used to put all the numbers together, which will give you like the departmental comparisons, as you've probably seen, or maybe you don't remember, Steve, but I can show you when we're done what I already have, like I call them just the accounting worksheets to build these gross numbers, and we can share that with you guys in September, or at the first meeting in September, and then you can review that And that'll give you a little better idea, like department by department from last year, 25 to 2026, so you can compare those. And then we can, now that we have this entered and we have it reconciled between the old way and the new way to make sure it's right, we can kind of play around with the reports now to see what we can pull out of there, and we can bring whatever we dig out of there, at the first meeting in September for more detail. Or you're always welcome to come up and look at the 1,000-page printed off binder if you want to.
I'll pass on that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try to dig out some more summary reports now that we have everything entered in there on a preliminary, basis. We can dig some more out, but I'll show you after the meeting. Whatever.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a comment on that. So, we haven't done it in a while, but we harp on you guys that you're the policy setting body. The budget is far and away the most important policy document that is passed by this board every year. So I think that you not only have the right, but the obligation to demand of personnel whatever information you need to feel comfortable in the decision that you make on that budget. So certainly I don't mean to sign you guys up for extra hassle, but this is one where you really need to make your expectations clear. But at the same time, this is where you need all the information that you think you need.
What's covered under the technology fund? That's up.
So we did ask Jason and John to come so that they, since they're the experts, to be able to answer some of those questions. I will start and then they can jump in. Part of it is the Office 365. Part of it is our deep seas and some of our security systems that are put in place. One of the other things is we did try as best as we could to merge all technology needs into this Fund 42, the technology budget. So previously those were in individual budgets, but we're trying to put everything together, try to do combined ordering together so that we can get some bulk pricing if possible. And really try to have it set in place that whatever touches the system goes through that department. Am I missing anything else?
No.
And many of those things were covered by ARPA in the past. After the breach, ARPA funds covered a lot of that initial stuff. I know ARPA covered the initial Office 365 rollout. And so now we need to be building those into our budget.
Does that line also include that new tower coordinator position?
Fund 42 does not, but their general budget does include that.
So I think for this budget, that's kind of the big things that we had to include this year that we didn't have to last year was enhanced cybersecurity stuff to obviously secure the network and also to make sure we're keeping up with those technology needs as well. So there's that. There's also the radio tower position itself. Yes, we did the 8.1 borrowing for the towers themselves, but then you need humans to make sure they function properly. So those two things, in addition to, remember, we moved everyone a step up on the wage scale, right? So I was actually quite surprised that we were able to absorb as much of those costs as we did just in operations and really going through with departments and scaling things back and saying, hey, do you need to do this? Do you not need to do that? I know we made a very good effort to use up existing fund balance and some of these down last few months as well. So, there's a handful of examples that we went through and realized there was money in these funds that was just sitting there. And so we're really trying to, responsibly use the fund balance, we have several, nearly over 100 some accounts, right? So going through those accounts and really applying that fund balance as we could to make sure we weren't, keeping extra money in there, but also leaving, some in there to move ahead to. So I think that was, we've done that before in the past, but we made a pretty good effort this year to, for 2026, knowing that we did have those step increases to make, to absorb in the operating budget. And then the cybersecurity network stuff and the radio tower position. We didn't have those. We knew those were going to be added expenses coming in this year that we didn't have last year. So I think overall, yes. not that I wanna highlight, we use some of the general fund surplus, of what we have for balance. That's a discussion for 2027 to have later on, but for all that we had to absorb for this year and using what we had to, I don't think it's awful. I think it's okay. I feel okay with that. So just some of the things that are new this year, we've never had before. We've never really had to consider. So there will be decisions that will need to be made in 2027 going forward because it's a whole other budget year, but just those are some of the three things that kind of stick out to me that we didn't have to deal with before. So food for thought is, expenses don't ever stop, right? They just keep going up one way and revenues stay flat.
So would we be better off borrowing a little bit more money so we can continue with our CIP projects?
I do think that is something that I'll need from you moving forward in the future, is how much bandwidth do you want us to borrow, do the short-term borrowing on a yearly basis? And to have you guys work on setting what are the projects we're gonna prioritize. And some of that will be absorbed into public safety.
Go ahead, Steve.
As much as I'm concerned about capital budgeting and the fact that we've got stuff that I have to figure out how to do. Have any of you had a chance to look at the green book yet for this year? Richland County, under general obligation debt, in comparison to all the other 17 counties, we're well above state average. In fact, there's only 3 counties with a higher obligation debt than we do. So somehow or other, we need to make sure we're trending the right way as we talk about all this stuff. It's not going to be fun, but we need to make sure we're able to tell that we're trending the right direction.
Good. Any other questions in regards to the preliminary budget? Yes, Dave.
We've been pretty responsible in our spending the last few years running. That's why our general fund balance has grown. We've underspent our budget, which is a good thing to do. That has left us in the position where we can, without too much negative impact on our overall financial picture, take that $300,000 from general fund to fill a gap in this year's budget. We can't do that on an ongoing basis. This is buying us a year to figure out the big issues. And I just want to be really clear on that. This is buying us a year. Next year, we've got to do some really tough decisions. Because you have that $300,000 gap now, that's not going to shrink next year. Things are only going to get more expensive. And so we're probably in better shape than some of our surrounding counties as far as the time pressure of our decisions. But next year, it will be the budget of reckoning, so to speak. We're going to need to make very difficult choices about how we spend what money we have available, because the money we have available is stagnant compared to growing projected expenses. And so I just want to be very clear on that this isn't a responsible ongoing strategy. We can do it this time and won't be harming ourselves too much by doing it because we've been responsible up to this point. But we'll need to make some very tough choices in the 2027 budget.
Another thing to note is, some of these totals, so we're a little bit ahead of the game with this whole budget formation, right? Some people don't really get to this point until later on in the year, September, October, November, really. So we're a bit ahead of the game here. So some of these numbers will change as the totals from the state come in. For instance, I just got the special charges today. So some of these numbers, and the number that we're using to balance to was what was our allowable levy limit last year. That does increase every now and then. It's not going to be a windfall of $2 million extra, right? It's not going to happen. We're going to get a cushion of maybe, I always say 30 to 50,000 just to be conservative, because I'm like that when it comes to money. So some of these totals will change a little bit. So right now we're just kind of using the numbers that we had last year that we know we had as a baseline to go from. So those of you that have been in this process a little bit, that these numbers it's a moving target until we get towards the end of September, first part of October, right? So our budget hearing will be October 20th. But just to note that we may, that 303,000 that's preliminarily budgeted for that gap fill could reduce a bit depending on what the levy is and depending on what we get for state aids, like shared revenue, those numbers. Right now, we're using pure projections, so just know that these numbers will change a bit, and even, you know, we'll keep looking through stuff and maybe talking with departments and having more finalized numbers for sure by the second meeting in September, which we normally do anyway. But I will, also, you know, we can include those breakdowns, to help you better understand that, or just to give you clarity on those totals as well. So I really I think tonight wanted to know too, if there's, like Supervisor Carroll wanted, if there were any other documents, you know, what you guys needed for us to see before we meet again in September, we could have those ready, but this is just a kind of a snapshot on where we're at right now. If there was anything major that you would like to see changed, I would appreciate knowing now, so we have time to rework that before that first meeting in September, when, you know, we kind of hit the ground running on some there.
Thank you, Derek. Bob, Frank, did you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you for asking.
All right. Anybody else with questions in regard to preliminary budget?
Yes, one more question. So other than giving you some more reports, which we will do that, is there anything in terms of what you're seeing right now that you would like us to look into? Or anything else, any discussions we need to have with departments? Are you comfortable with what you see here? I mean, at this point now, we'll give you more information, obviously, but I'm just curious if we need to have any more departmental meetings at the departmental levy to go, level to go over the budgets. I think it's a bit to coordinate in September.
Group, committee?
Maybe you'll have more to see in September, but.
Yeah, I'm good with what we have in front of us.
I guess, being the new guy here, I would just like to see, maybe the last year of every department, what the expenses were in correlation with what we got budgeted for the following year.
I think that was the tricky thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Actuals last year, projections for this year, and then budget for next year.
So we have the budget workbook we used to prepare. Those of you may remember that the Excel budget workbook will have that, the levy distribution and the levy by department, those kind of transformed into accounting documents now that we have the administrator. But I'll share those with you. You can have those in September. That'll give you a lot of information. It's kind of accounting stuff, but paints a picture for you.
So we need to do a motion, move it on full county board, or not yet?
Not yet.
It's the first meeting in September, you bring in more information.
We'll upload the 3 reports. Yep.
Okay. If there's no other further questions on that, we'll move on to item number 9. Discussion of possible action on approval of municipal advisory agreement with Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals LLC. Item 9.
So this is something that we've done almost every year. Last year was done differently, but we are asking to go back to doing the municipal advisory agreement with Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals to facilitate the issuance of the bond, the note that we are looking to get for our short-term borrowing next year. Copy of the agreement is in the folder.
Yes.
So this is with Carol Worth. Again, we worked with her for years now. I like to work with Carol Worth, and I like to work with those guys because we have bond counsel, Corals and Brady, and then we use Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals for the municipal advisory. They're very great to work with. They ensure that we do everything to the legal standard that we need to. They help us with resolutions, with notices, and then also as a great resource. I've called Carol many a times to say, hey, give me the history of the county's borrowing from many, many years ago. So this is a standard agreement that we have with them. It's very similar to the service and everything they have done for us in the past. So this is whenever we use an outside bond counsel or Corals and Brady, these are the standard agreements that we have. So this is included in the short-term borrowings. So you're going to see the amount says $1,085,000. That would include the $1,064,000 that we have for the projects themselves. And then this fees is pretty much split pretty even between Corson Brady's bond counsel, Wisconsin Public Finance Professional, plus Municipal Advisory Board, FAR.
Question, Mr. Cooley.
Question, your motion?
Yes.
Motion from Cooley, I will second it. Further discussion in regards to going with them for our short-term borrowing. I know, Randy, it's kind of new for you, but it's what we've done in the past. Dollar amounts fluctuate. Anyone? Bob, anything from you?
No, I'm good. That sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Carroll.
Did we generate a list of specific things that this million is going to cover?
Yes.
Yes. See that at some point for next meeting.
Yep, we can add it, but it was presented to you back in July.
Oops.
Yep, that's okay. Yep, we can get it to you.
Good idea. Probably be good. Kind of order. Want to see it anything. All right, if there's no other discussion on that, all those in favor of moving this on to full county board, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Moving that forward. Item number 10, discussion and possible action. Approval of changes to the holiday section of the handbook of personnel policies work rules of Richland County. Item 10.
So this is something that I brought to you at our last meeting and you requested that I gather more information. So the proposal was that we transition to 12 paid holidays for all employees. There is a subgroup of employees out at Pine Valley who get 12. Everybody else gets 10 holidays. And so to try to gain consistency and to try to not take away from anyone, the proposal was made to get to 12. I think the two big questions that were asked, first was how many employees out at Pine Valley are impacted by the two additional holidays. It'll be about 28 to 30 employees that are impacted. The second question is, with the overtime cost that a holiday brings, how much does that impact the county? And so adding one holiday would impact the overall budget by about $19,000. So that would be primarily with overtime at the sheriff's department, at Pine Valley, and at the ambulance service. We did not build in how it may impact related to highway because we just never know. They could go years without having to work a holiday, and then it feels like there are years that they work
Here we go.
every holiday. So we didn't even attempt to try to budget in that one because that one is such an unknown. The other concern that was brought up was really the lack of community access to the county. If we have two additional holidays, if we are closed to additional holidays, one way to potentially get around that is where you create personal holidays or a floating holiday where they can be taken at the employee's choosing, and then departments can continue to remain open on those two additional days.
Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
I would recommend against the floating holiday. There is an obligation on the part of government employees to be present at their offices and to perform their respective duties. And it may complicate that to have each individual employee capable of essentially declaring a day off, especially when it comes to one or two person departments. So for the public's knowledge and access, it would be easier to know that, these two additional days, that office will be closed. But it only makes it more complicated. It's not an option.
What do you think, Drew?
Would send this on the full board. At least in my opinion, with today's climate with job retention, I think it's very smart to go to 12.
Mr. Turk, you're making the motion? Mr. Turk made the motion to move on to full county board. Mr. Schoonover will second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving this on to full county board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Bob, you're an aye for yes or an aye for no?
I for yes.
Thank you. All right, carries on to full county board. All right, item number 11, discussion and possible action, the approval of updates to the Pine Valley addendum. Item keep it up.
So I will start this out. I mean, Brittany's can obviously be a big part of this, but since Brittany and I have both been in our respective positions, we have had a lot of issues that have come up, a lot of times that we have questioned what the intention of the handbook was. And so we have spent a lot of time really working on making updates to the handbook, trying to make sure it's consistent across the board. And so we have gone through and made these updates and these recommended changes. You will note that everything in red is new, everything crossed off is changes that we are looking to make. There are still some, before it's finalized, things like grammatical errors that we need to change, potential spelling errors that we need to change, some formatting that we will need to update. But this is something that most definitely would help immensely if we got these handbook updates.
Yeah, so as you guys will see with the changes, we mainly changed the sick time and the vacation time to follow the county policies. Change the premium pay because some of our staff members have to be weekend obligated to obtain the premium pay while some others don't. So we're just changing premium pay to have to be weekend obligated. Workers' comp, we added in that they have to, we can accommodate that like duty to save on workers' comp. Grievance policy, this has not been a grievance policy in there, and we didn't see one in the employee or the county handbook, so we added a grievance policy and how to file those grievances. We made some changes to the termination, layoffs, and reduction of hours and how that payout will look. Changed some employees from comp time to flex time just because they're not required to work the floor. So we wanted to make sure that that was changed so that we're not accumulating a bunch of unnecessary comp time, as well as changing that comp time down from time and a half to just straight time, which makes more sense as a lot of those employees instead of they have the ability to earn overtime. I added another sheet to your guys' thing that I wasn't able to get here. We've had some issues with some no call, no show, so I just wanted to implement this policy into the handbook, just stating that you are voluntarily resigning your position if you are a no call, no show. And then adding a rotating holiday as well, just because a lot of our staff are scheduled to work holidays, and if they're scheduled, they're scheduled. And if they're not, they're not. So no like consistency throughout the building where, if you're just scheduled, you're stuck working the holiday versus that fairness where everybody has to kind of share that load of having to carry and working those holidays. So that kind of splits up and reduces the call-ins as well.
One thing I will want to note on the premium pay that was previously approved through resolution, it was never added into the addenda.
Correct.
That was approved in December of 23.
We're just clarifying it to show that if they want the premium pay as a call-in position, they have to work that weekend. And I think that was the major ones that we changed, and then just kind of your week and just go similar things, just typos and fixing wording to make it more comprehensive.
And this is one, if you are comfortable with it, or if you're not comfortable approving it today, we do have another executive in finance before the full county board, so we certainly can review it again at that point in time.
Mr. Carroll.
As part of your cleanup, it looks like on page 17, JJ and KK are completed. So I think one things. Also, I can't find the county handbook anywhere on my iPad. I see an old archive one, but it'd be nice if we had access to it. If it's there, just show me where it's at.
We can look afterwards and see if it's in that resource, and if it's not, we'll get it added in there.
Anybody else with further questions? You want more time? We've got another meeting in what, probably 2 weeks? What do you think, guys?
Be nice if this was incorporated.
Yeah. And
And it will be, yes, so that will be added, I didn't have it in here at that time, just because one of the instances occurred, and I was like, oh no, I forgot to add that in there, and then adding in that rotating holiday will be in there as well.
So we can certainly add that in, get this all updated, and then bring it back at the next meeting if you guys are comfortable with that.
works for us. And this will be, when will it be implemented? Once we, full county board approve?
9/16.
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions? The plan is to bring it back at our first meeting in September. Correct. All right, thank you. Brittany, you're excused. All right, we're gonna be going into closed session, so we can keep any county board members. And now that Rob's a county board member, you'll have to turn the camera off. No problem. Mr. Wendell will be in here and all county board members present in the room. But Mr. Frank cannot. That was one of our new rules last year.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to chapter 1985, deliberating, negotiating, purchasing of public properties, busting of public funds, conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. For potential future use of the council. Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mr. Bruno. All those in favor of going into closed session signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're going into closed session. Supplementary recess. We need 6 weeks. Anybody need to recess? Just document that one. Okay. We're back in open session. Item 14, nothing to do on items to take action on in closed session. Correspondence, item 15. None to report. Future agenda items for our September meeting. Anyone?
Bring the budget and Valley addendum back.
Budget, Pine Valley addendum, correct, okay. Closed session. And then the closed session again. That'll be our normal first.
Closed session. Patient.
Yes, please. Anybody else have anything? All right, if not, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Cooley. All those in favor of adjourning to the September meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right.